Welcome back to the We Rise podcast, everyone. So glad to have you on today. I'm really excited to share today more about solar in the coalfields of Southwest Virginia. This is really a fabulous project that is a real-world example of being powered by the sun in a region that has had actually policies and a lot of effort stacked up against getting solar on the ground. So our firm, Dialogue and Design Associates, is a group that does facilitation, we do community engagement, and at a base level, we help everyday community members and leaders come together, envision their future, and find tools and resources to make that vision a reality. We help remove barriers to obstacles that people face by helping them find effective ways to work together, identify grants, be able to partner with new people, and to really address conflict when conflict comes up. So we've worked with a number of groups over the almost 2 decades that we've been in business. And Dialogue and Design Associates is the sister company that really puts the We Rise podcast together. In 2016, a couple groups approached us about getting solar off the ground in Southwest Virginia. Now, coal has powered the region for hundreds of years in Southwest Virginia. Coal has been really the lifeblood for many community members. It's how folks have put food on the table. It's how they have provided jobs in many different related industries, and there's a very strong history and pride in coal mining in the region. At the same time, many people acknowledge that coal is a resource that is dwindling, and the number of jobs that are available in coal have been substantially lowered. And there are many previous episodes of the We Rise podcast that go into specific numbers about what the coal mining industry was and what it looks like. And a great part of our work at Dialogue and Design focuses in Central Appalachia and also focuses on the Chesapeake Bay. And what we really help communities do is look at what they want their future to be, how they want to build local economies. But we actually don't have a stake in what we think those future economies should be. We want those futures to be bright. We want them to be sustainable, to be resilient. But the actual ways that those economies grow need to be based on the local ideas of local leaders. And that is really a core way that we work at Dialogue and Design. We firmly believe that the collective is more effective, so we do a couple things. We help community members and leaders come together to work together effectively to create that future, but we really act as a support mechanism for them to create the future that they want to see, because it's what is grounded in local communities that will make a difference and move the needle over time. So again, 2016, a couple different folks came to us and said, we'd like to start an effort around solar in Southwest Virginia. It was an idea that came up there's a really great forum at the University of Virginia's College at Wise. They have an annual economic forum, and it's an idea that came up at this forum. It's a really great example of how an academic institution is really helping to spur regional change by hosting this annual conversation. The idea got started at this forum, and people said, well, we really want to have a way to bring people together, and we need some facilitation help. So Appalachian Voices, which is an advocacy organization working in Central Appalachia, reached out to us, and they reached out to some additional partners, including the University of Virginia's College at Wise, or UVA Wise. Wise is a town in Southwest Virginia, as well as People Incorporated, which is a community development financial institution, as well as a community action agency. And they work across Virginia doing affordable housing, lending, and a really wide variety of ways to support community members. So these 3 institutions, UVA Wise, Appalachian Voices, and People Incorporated, got together and were the co-conveners, or the groups that really got the work group together initially. And we, Dialogue and Design, helped facilitate the Solar Workgroup. And we started with the premise of listening, which is the way we start all of our projects when we're really working with community members to see what they want for their future. So we talked to people about what were the barriers to getting solar off the ground in the region. What were the opportunities? There has traditionally been a lot of pushback to solar in the region because people often viewed solar as being oppositional to coal. People felt like it had to be solar or coal. And what we learned is that there was a lot of fear that solar would actually replace coal. But as people started to see that coal was a dwindling resource, there started to be a recognition that it could be a both and proposition, that there could be solar and coal. So a lot of people realized that the initiative really didn't have to be solar or coal. It could be solar and coal. And that's really what the community group started moving forward with. And we had a large solar fair at the University of Virginia's College at Wise in 2016 with over 200 people joining and a band and Boy Scouts and robotics fair where there were students who put together solar powered charging stations and won mini grants and food and all kinds of stuff. It was a really fabulous event. But one of the things that stands out to me the most is the Solar Workgroup banner that hung behind the stage where musicians were, was a tagline that said, Solar Workgroup of Southwest Virginia, proud of our past and excited by our future, powered by the sun. There's a recognition that Southwest Virginia has been an energy producing region for many, many generations. There's a strong sense of pride, and it will continue to be an energy producing region in the future through solar and other means. And so that both and approach is a really core way that we work with community members on the ground. At the very beginning of the work group, folks got together. We met usually once a season, once a quarter or so, and folks started to share their ideas about what growing a solar renewable energy industry cluster in Southwest Virginia looked like. And we realized there were a lot of barriers. There are actually a lot of policies that were preventing solar from moving forward that were specific to the 7 coalfield counties of Southwest Virginia that actually didn't apply to the rest of the Commonwealth of Virginia. There were actually policies that prevented solar from going on schools, for example, in Southwest Virginia, that wasn't taking place in the rest of the Commonwealth. So the group noticed a lot of barriers, but also a lot of opportunities. There was a very strong desire to continue the manufacturing jobs that are in the region with a lot of the different solar components that take place. There's a strong need for community education and outreach. A lot of homeowners wanted to be able to find out who can install solar on my homes as well as businesses. So a lot of folks started meeting and coming together. We had planning district commissions, we had nonprofit organizations and still have. We have had banks, we've had academic institutions, everyday community members. Folks really got together and looked at what it would take to grow the economy of Southwest Virginia based on renewable energy as the driver for the economy. And a lot of things have really taken shape since the work group formed in 2016. Today, there are 4 different goals of the work group. The first goal is around identifying sites that are ideal for solar development, making Southwest Virginia a hub for solar energy. The second goal is to grow workforce development and entrepreneurship opportunities to advance solar projects, and importantly, to really maximize local benefits. That's one of the things that's essential, is to make the local benefits as great as possible for local community members. The third goal is to expand education and outreach in communities and with local leaders around solar benefits and opportunities. And the fourth goal is to promote policy changes that will help grow solar and energy storage industries in Southwest Virginia. Now, each of those different goals has different actions and ways that they're going to be realized, and many partners working together today. There is a steering committee where decisions are made by consensus to help guide the overall growth of the Solar Work Group. And partners include Virginia's Department of Energy, the Nature Conservancy, the Southern Environmental Law Center, and several additional groups working together with those initial co-conveners, really working to make solar a reality. The vision for the Solar Work Group is that Southwest Virginia is a solar leader in the Commonwealth and in Central Appalachia, building on the region's proud history as an energy leader and working to realize the economic, environmental, and resiliency benefits of solar energy for all Southwest Virginia community members. And the goal of the work group is to not just benefit a few people, but who are owning, for example, companies from out of the region, but to really make sure that all community members benefit through, for example, community benefit agreements for new solar projects. Now, a lot has happened for the Solar Work Group since it was first started in 2016. A couple of the accomplishments include creating 2 group solar purchase program for commercial buildings. We established a securing solar model, which I'll talk about in a couple minutes, which is a co-development model for community anchor buildings in partnership with Secure Futures, Mountain Empire Community College, and Lonesome Pine Solar, which includes God Electric. And it's been a really fun story to see how that's gone on. The group has realized ongoing solar residential solarized programs, and there have actually been some legislative victories that some members of the work group have worked on. Now, not all members of the work group are able to engage in policy advocacy, which completely makes sense, but some folks have worked in policy, and those legislative victories have included expanding power purchase agreements and net metering, which really opens up greater access to solar for nonprofit businesses. There's been a new Brightfields program, a Soul Smart regional designation, and really importantly, there have been new financial mechanisms to make solar a reality, including a solar finance fund, utilizing Appalachian Regional Commission power support to create a catalytic fund for commercial and institutional scale solar across Central Appalachia. There have also been energy storage and electrification manufacturing jobs that have been created. And we've had well over 20 meetings since 2016, again, the Solar Fair, and we've engaged community members in a wide variety of ways across these goals and to really make solar a reality in Southwest Virginia. So it's been a really fun project to work on. The work group is a really fun group of people. We've had a lot of different folks who have worked together, from architects to engineers, planners, students, AmeriCorps Vista volunteers, agency folks, and there's a really strong vision for what the future of solar can look like in Southwest Virginia. But at its core, again, it's really working in partnership and in community, recognizing that conflict is a natural part of what will arise as a new industry is growing in the region, and that conflict is welcome. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree to move forward. Again, policy has shifted and changed, and new people are always continuing to get involved, which is really a fun thing to see. So I want to tell you a little bit more specifically about a recent event we had, and you'll hear a couple voices at the end of this episode from a recent gathering that we had at Wise Primary School. Wise Primary is an elementary school based in Southwest Virginia, right in the same place that University of Virginia's College at Wise is. And as I mentioned earlier, solar was not legal on school buildings when we first started the Solar Workgroup, which was really surprising. It wasn't possible for school boards to be able to place solar on schools, and so policy had to change in order to get solar to move forward. So we had a ribbon cutting recently at Wise Primary School to celebrate a brand new rooftop solar installation. And this was really the result of years of work. And it was really a marker of success in the overall effort to diversify the economy of the 7 coalfield counties of Southwest Virginia. So we got together in the Wise Primary Gym. So some of the sound that you'll hear sounds like it's in a gym a little bit. But it was great to hear the former director of the superintendent of the school system, Dr. Mullen, speaking, and Adam Wells of Appalachian Voices talking about how the work group formed. We had Secure Futures is the solar installer, the solar developer, who's really been getting so much energy and momentum built and off the ground, projects rolling, including this one at Wise Primary. We had representatives from the electric company, God Electric, as well as from Mountain Empire Community College. We also had 2 interns or 2 apprentices who have worked with God Electric, and they have been able to participate in the program, to go through the apprenticeship program, receive a living wage of over $17 an hour, which is a great wage for the region, to be able to learn new skills and to participate in the installation of solar and move to other projects beyond this one. Mason and Anthony were the 2 apprentices who were able to speak at the effort as well. And it was a really great storytelling of how jobs are being created around solar in Southwest Virginia. And this was just in October, in the fall of 2022, that this happened. And there were a lot of things to celebrate at this gathering. And one of those is the amount of money that Wise County schools are going to save with the installation of solar in the region. Estimates are that solar installation in Wise County schools will actually save the system $7 to $8 million in electricity costs over their lifespans. And those savings will also benefit local taxpayers, which is something that many people didn't realize. But, as a whole, it's, again, a lot more than just about solar or saving money. It's really about the jobs that are being created. And that's one of the things that we heard at the very beginning of the work group that's absolutely essential. We heard, show me the jobs, show us what can really happen. And it's exciting to see these new jobs being created in solar after years of work and starting to see the industry really getting ready to bloom. There are 8 apprentices who have been working in the Solar Workforce Accelerator program who got real-world experience working on this specific installation. And I mentioned Mountain Empire Community College, the Solar Workgroup, God Electric, and Secure Futures. And there are a whole new generation of people who are developing skills to be energy workers in the region and the broader economy. So there's a lot of grant funding that has gone into developing these programs through the Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority, the Appalachian Solar Finance Fund, and these funding mechanisms mechanisms have been really key in being able to get similar projects off the ground, particularly for public institutions or churches and nonprofits and others with grants to be able to realize solar projects and receive technical assistance. One of the things that Dr. Mullins said during the gathering at WISE Primary that I loved is, Dr. Mullins said, "I want to see our young people be able to find meaningful employment that can support them and their families. And I want to see those opportunities here in Southwest Virginia. The jobs that we've created through this program take us closer to that goal." And Greg is just really a champion of the project. And it's really due to the hard work of Secure Futures, the Solar Workgroup, and many partners who have had several conversations over the years to find out what it's going to take to really be able to create these jobs. Matt McFadden, who's the project coordinator with Secure Futures, said also at the meeting, this system, like the ones like it on schools in Wise and Lee counties, which is an adjacent county, are a real symbol of Southwest Virginia being an energy leader for generations to come. But the real praise needs to go to our apprentices. I am so proud of these young people who did the installation work and launched their careers in the solar and electric industry right here in Southwest Virginia. So the WISE Primary School installation is one of about a dozen to be built as part of the first of its scale in the region. And 10 workforce apprentices helped put up the panels on a nearby elementary school, St. Paul Elementary, over the summer. You may have heard in an earlier episode in Dayton, Virginia, about a lot of the learning that's happened from St. Paul, which is not very far down the road. And Luann Wallace, which is one of our lovely and amazing earlier guests, is from St. Paul. So some of the apprentices have already gotten jobs with God Electric, and it's been a really great way to see how jobs not only have been created, but can be sustained through longer term projects, funding acquired, and skills acquired as well. So again, policies had to change, and there are new policies that the group is going to be working on in the future, including expanding access to shared solar or community solar in the region, and getting funding for having solar on land that used to be mined. And there are a lot of different solar installations that will be coming to schools in the future. The group is working on a $10 million grant that's around a Virginia brownfield and coal mine renewable energy grant fund, which will again help get the solar on former mine land. So there's a lot taking place, and it's really exciting. If people would like to learn more about the Solar Workgroup, you can check out the website swvasolar.org. You're welcome to sign up for the newsletter and find out more about what makes the workgroup amazing and the folks who are involved. So it's a really awesome group, and the hope for the future of the region is that solar really is spread out far and wide, that the grid has become more localized, that there are battery options for energy storage and manufacturing in the region, that there are plentiful jobs created through solar in the region, and that solar is continued to be viewed as a real key economic driver in the region, that there can be jobs that are well-paying, life-sustaining, and that people can be proud of the work that they do through solar and continuing the energy-producing legacy that is in Southwest Virginia. So I'm excited that you're going to have a chance to hear a little bit from folks at the WISE Primary Gathering. Again, it's in the gym, so it has that awesome echo from the gym, but it's great to hear some of the voices firsthand. So tune in to hear a little bit more from the Solar Workgroup and enjoy.
Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for being here, and thanks to WISE Primary folks for having us. We really appreciate y'all hosting us. It is so exciting to be here to celebrate the solar that is on the roof now. So the Solar Workgroup was started in 2016. It actually came out of a conversation at the first economic forum at UVA WISE, just a little bit down the road here. The key question has always been, how do we use the creation of a locally rooted solar industry to be an economic driver for Southwest Virginia? And so that question and how we get to that point has been the driving force of the workgroup since 2016. And we have had a goal of the workgroup to see solar on many of the schools and other local government buildings as a goal of the workgroup since that day, and we're so excited to be celebrating this moment here as a success. The workgroup is facilitated by Dialogue and Design. We're so appreciative of the work that they do. It's co-convened by Appalachian Voices, UVA WISE Incorporated, with a broader steering committee of many of the folks in this room. If you're on the steering committee of the workgroup, can you raise your hand just so we can see so many folks? Yay! Yay, steering committee! So folks may have seen these 2 pages at the sign-in table. It's got a lot of what the Solar Work Group has done in the past. That's on this page, as well as our mission and then our goals. And Christine touched on this, and we're going deeper into it in the discussion here, but there's 4 goals of the Solar Work. I'm going to paraphrase here. It's to install a bunch of solar that a lot of people can see. That's 1. 2 is to make sure that local people are doing the installation and are receiving the training as we do those solar installations. 3 is to tell everyone the good news about solar from our school children, everyday citizens, local elected folks, to make sure that everyone's got the most up-to-date information about solar. That's 3. And then 4 is to change the policies in Virginia to make Southwest Virginia a more solar-friendly area. And so what we're going to hear tonight and what the panels on the roof really represent is the convergence of those 4 goals to make this system and many others like it possible. And I can't stress just how much of a group effort this has been. There's been so many people. This is really the fruit of so many people's labor, whether we're talking about people, young people on the roof installing the solar panels, lots and lots of Zoom calls, meetings with our local representatives to change those rules. This is really a moment that's 6 years in the making. We're so excited to share it with y'all tonight, and I'm just really excited if you can't tell. So now I get to introduce Matt McFadden of Secure Futures, who has become a fast friend of mine. Matt is one of the people that's just working so hard that has made this moment happen. Now I want to share a little bit about how the Solar Work Group came to be in a co-development partnership with Secure Futures. So as I mentioned, we set a goal for installing solar on buildings like schools, hospitals, local government buildings, because we think that it's the best way that the local community can benefit the most from solar. As I mentioned, as we hear about, there were hurdles in front of us to see that vision come true. And we needed to partner with a solar developer that was not afraid to work hard, not afraid to push up against those hurdles sometimes knock them over. And so over a series of 3 different competitive requests for proposals, we tried to find a solar installer that had what it took to put solar on the roofs of schools in Southwest Virginia. And this was a process that was open and transparent and competitive. We got several bids from other solar developers across the state that wanted to have this opportunity. And we selected Secure Futures because they really showed a commitment to driving local workforce, working with the Solar Work Group, and they had already invested years before in seeing the Southwest Virginia solar industry take root. And so as a part of that co-development partnership, Secure Futures hired Matt McFadden, which he then got to work trying to make that vision true. So with that, I'll hand it over to Matt, who's going to introduce the folks on this panel.
So for each of our speakers, I'm going to introduce the question that we're going to ask them to speak about. They're going to introduce themselves as we go along, and they're going to be coming to the center microphone. There's another mic to be able to respond. So thanks so much, Adam, for that overview. And let's all thank Wise Primary for hosting us and for all the really hard work they've done. It's partnerships like this and my work with communities really across the Mid-Atlantic and Central Appalachia where community really comes together, and it's really exciting to see. So, heartfelt thanks. So, Matt, you've worked really hard for a long time.
Yes.
Feel free to address that. In 4 to 5 minutes, Matt, tell us a little bit about what you do. What are racking systems and the solar system components that come into play in a system like this? And what do the interns do for work? What comes next with projects and jobs? And what are the solar projects in the pipeline?
But that answer your questions, the racking systems, what do the apprenticeships do? Well, the racking systems and the panels, the racking systems are what hold the solar panels on the roof. They're what actually keeps them in place for the 20 years, 25 years that they're going to be there. Those parts have not been easy to get this year. We went through a lot of work to get those issues and those parts taken care of. But I think the better question is, what do the apprentices do? Well, these gentlemen here, I don't know why you're sitting over there, I'm not sure up here with you. These gentlemen here are 2 of the apprentices who actually got hired. We took 10 apprentices and paid them $17 an hour, gave them 9 college credit hours, bought the boots, bought the tools, all that stuff. But, Wise County and Lee County Career Tech Centers were kind enough to give us some awesome apprentices and allow us to use them and have them install things for us. They did a fantastic job and put in a lot of work. got a ton of skills out of it, and really did all the work that you guys will see them do. They put in the piping, they put in the wires, they assembled the racking systems, they installed the solar panels, the disconnects, every different part of it. And these guys deserve a big community. Thank you guys.
So what does it take to get a project online? And what is coming up next down the pipeline?
So what does it take to get a project online? First off, you've got to get the buy-in of the school system. You've got to get the school system interested in saving money and employing their students, giving their students experience. You've got to gain comfortableness with the facilities director and the insurance companies and the lawyers and things of that nature. You've got to work hard to show what solar is going to do for the school, the savings, the employment benefits, the curriculum benefits that Secure Futures provides, our throwing solar shade options, the apprenticeship program that we put together and work with App Voices and Mountain Park Community College, God Electric, Solar Workgroup in Southwest Virginia. Then you've got to deliver on your promises to keep the roof warranties. You've got to deliver on your promises to not damage things during installations. And you've got to deliver on your word. And I think that we've done that.
And what's coming up next?
Oh, that's these little things called non-disclosure agreements. But essentially, we're working on getting as many schools in Southwest Virginia to go solar as we possibly can. And we want to replicate the apprenticeship program that we've done here, replicate the savings, and replicate the same amount of hard work that we put in the benefits for everybody else.
So let's thank Matt for
All right, thanks so much, Matt. So to continue to weave this story about creating jobs around solar in Southwest Virginia, Dr. Mullins, can you introduce yourself in a moment and tell us about what has been your experience with this project and your hopes for solar in the broader region?
Well, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I retired June 30th, superintendent here in Wise County. Been in education 39 years, served in a lot of different roles during that time. But of course, I think as the goal of every school division, we want to see our students graduate and go on and lead productive, meaningful lives. That's our mission, always has been, and certainly the solar project that we are now involved in, I think offers our students that opportunity. And just to give you a real quick sort of history of our solar experience, we began looking at solar 6-7 years ago. Conversations with various solar companies, our board was very receptive, our central office staff, but at that particular time, the framework just wasn't in place that would allow us to really dive in. There was going to be startup cost involved, the energy savings, we weren't going to see the savings that we hoped for. And so there was just a lot of reasons why at that time we didn't go ahead and jump in. And we stayed involved, kept having conversations. We met and talked with and discussed solar with a lot of different companies. As a matter of fact, we took a couple of days over at St. Paul, interviewed I was part of the interview team, a number of solar companies. Of course, having Matt just live out the street from our school board office was sort of a big help. And I always told him, if this thing goes a direction I'm not comfortable with, I know where you're at. And so, all kidding aside, it is great to have someone here locally that we can interact with, talk to, ask questions. But you know, at this point, a couple of years ago when we really started to get serious about solar, and we looked at the numbers, for us, a small school division was always struggling for dollars. For us, $7.5–8 million savings over the lifetime of this project is pretty significant numbers. The other parts that we talked with Matt and Secure Futures about is the possibility of our students becoming part of a training program, an apprenticeship program, and in the event they really developed a real knack for those types of jobs. And so we had students who helped with the install. They were paid to train, that all of their equipment was paid for, and they were paid a really nice hourly wage. And it was such a joy to see them diving in, getting the panels out, hard hats, the whole. And so that was an important part of this whole process for us. And then an education program for all of our K through 12 schools. And of course, Secure Futures has provided that with their Throw in Solar Shade program. It is new, it's different. It's something that here in the far southwest that we're just sort of starting to dive into. We've always felt like there was, and they're going to continue to be, a tremendous need nationwide for energy. And certainly this gives us the opportunity to obtain energy that we needed as a school system and save money doing so. And so that is sort of where we are, where we've been, and we're excited. Even though I'm retired, it's such a joy to see. This is our second building. We've got a few to go. We're going to keep knocking them down one at a time. But our relationship with Adam and the group at Appalachian Voices, we talked with Adam a long time ago about solar when we first started looking at it. And so this group has been an excellent group to work with, and we're excited to continue.
Thanks so much. Let's thank Dr. Mullins. We will have some time for questions at the end of the panel, so feel free to jot your questions down to save them for the end. So Dean Rose, tell us a little bit about what's needed to grow solar jobs and around education and training. What's really going to open the door for solar jobs in Southwest Virginia?
Biggest thing, of course, my name is Matthew Rose. I'm Dean of Industrial Tech at Empire Community College. I thought a lot about this question. Of course, you asked a lot of people, the first thing they're going to say is money. And I'm not going to go that route. And part of the reason I'm not going to go that route, we have in Southwest Virginia and really all across the state, some tremendous grant partners who are willing, ready, and able to help support programs that are going to produce jobs and going to help out jobs and job creation. But what I really think for us, as far as an education and training, and allow me to digress just a little bit, it's easier for me to get a student into a program and talk to them about the benefits and the other things in the program if I can show them the job and their career at the end. Most young people are going to say, listen, I want a job that I can have all the toys and other things that I've always wanted. I want the big truck, I want the bass boat, I want all these things. But on the same side, their parents are behind them in wanting a career for the child. And so, in order for those things to come together, what do I have to show? I have to show that there is a job. I have to show there is a career. So in Southwest Virginia, in order for that to happen, again, I'm not going to go with money because I do think we have enough. We've started programs. I do think we have great partners that can help. But I think it comes down to the thing, to basically economics of making solar panels installation and set up not only on our bigger sites such as here, but making it more ubiquitous to where the homeowner wants those programs and they want to install it and they want to maintain it. And it becomes similar to your home heating and cooling system, or your home electrical system, where you've got to have somebody to come out and maintain and install so that you can go back to the parent and say, you know what, this has become such a uniform technology that everybody has some on their house or wants some on their house, and your child is going to have a career. And you can tell that young person growing up and say, really, not only are you going to have a career that you maybe aren't thinking of, you're going to be able to attain those things that you've always wanted. And that's where I think it boils down to education and training. We have the resources, but like so many other people are right now, we need the students who are driven enough to come into it. And that's how we drive them into it, is show them the options they have.
Building collective resilience looks different in different places. Resilience means growing a stronger, brighter future for generations to come. It also takes many shapes and comes in different sizes. Resilience includes building community, a healthier environment, and robust local economies. It also means growing equity, inclusion, and belonging, care of self and others, and creating regeneration at all levels. What stories and strategies inspire you? Share your ideas with us on social media and check out our website at yeswerise.org to find the show notes, interview videos, and the links mentioned on the podcast today.
Josh, I'm going to invite you to come on up and introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you see as the most exciting opportunities and the greatest needs from solar in Southwest Virginia, and maybe what perspective that you're speaking from. So you're really kind of on the ground. So if you could...
My name is Joshua Grable. I'm the Senior Project Manager for GOT Electric, and I've had the privilege of overseeing the projects here in Wise County and Lee County. It's been a wonderful experience so far. I really appreciate the patience and cooperation that I've received from everybody that's engaged in this entire process. And it's something, before I can respond to your question, Tony, Secure Futures, many of you I'm sure have met or interacted with him, loves the idea of a barn raising. I like to think of the entire process as a barn raising. It's only from the concept of the project all the way through the installation of the panels and all the countless hands and people that participate in that process that we're able to achieve this. So this really is a community event. And it's been wonderful to be a part of this community here as we're engaging in this work. I think some of the greatest needs for solar are helping to manage the costs of electricity that are rising for people in the community. It's happening all across the state, all across the country, and solar is a very good option to help reduce some of those costs. There's an enormous need here, I think, in the community to find the next path. The course that's going to take us into the next 20, 50, 100 years in the community here as an area of the state that's been heavily invested in coal for generations and generations. And as that's starting to wind down, I think the community is trying to figure out what direction to move towards next. And this has also been a concentration of energy in the state, and I think it will continue to stay as a concentration of energy in the state. There are enormous, incredibly hardworking people, Anthony and Mason, two of the apprentices that worked with us this summer and then stayed on with us as full-time employees, are excellent examples of the incredibly hardworking individuals that you find all across the area here. And it's a matter of opening the doors, as some of the other questions have touched on. How are we bridging the gap between where we're at right now and where we can get to with the opportunity of solar? I think that's continue to engage with our partners here in the community, the schools, the trade schools, and the local workforce here to help provide opportunities for them to pursue this path. As has been responded to earlier, the solar industry is just booming right now. There's solar all across the country. It reminds me in certain ways of nursing, because when I was younger, I thought about pursuing nursing. I could work anywhere in the country. I could find work doing almost whatever I wanted within that field and choose the hours I want in a sense. I find that this is very similar. There's enormous demand for electricians and solar installers. And so helping to show and let folks, especially young folks, know about how much opportunity there is, and it's not going to dry up. It's not going away in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months, several years even, because we're building these projects, and we want to come in and engage with local partners and build a local workforce that we're employing and that will stay in the community, and they continue to help build out the solar in the area. Or maybe they decide after a certain point, I want to go a different direction with electric work. There's endless opportunities there. Or they decide they want to stay in the solar industry. Well, somebody needs to maintain and repair, go out and check on systems. And so there are years and years and years of work in this industry. And so it's really exciting to be a part of one of the new frontiers in energy development that's really now kind of hitting the mainstream.
Thank you very much.
I love it when I give the 1 minute mark, people are like on the nose, so on it. Thanks so much, Joshua. So Matt, we're going to ask you to come back up and dive a little bit more into, there's a pretty unusual process happening here around the solar co-development partnership. Can you talk a little bit more about, what does that look like with the Solar Work Group? What is the solar co-development process, and what does it take to move projects forward? You've talked a lot about how to unlock projects, and I know there are non-disclosure agreements, but when you look at really moving projects forward, what does it take? So talk a little bit about the partnership, and then what does it take to really move projects like the scale of this one forward?
I mean, the partnership that we have with the Solar Work Group is multifaceted. You guys have introduced me to quite a few different people, mainly people like Austin that I've met at Voices and now works as a department manager. We can move on to people from UVA that I've met. To Southern Environmental Law Center, giving you some guidance on multiple different aspects of the laws that we need to solar in the region and the area. The partnership that we've had with that Voices and the Solar Group has been amazing. We've got to really expand on what we're working with. And be introduced to quite a few people who, without those introductions, some of this may not happen.
What does it take to get a project like this moving forward?
Well, that's a lot of internal work. Secure Futures, our engineering team, our finance team, project management team. There's a lot of things that go towards moving the project forward, but if you're looking more towards a local moving forward, you have to have people that believe in it. You have to have people that believe in the future. Being a resident here my entire life, you look at the past and you're thankful for what's happened and the fact that your family's been here. I recently came to find out that my family's from Rockridge County 200 years ago. We landed over in South Carolina, moved to Rockridge, and then came to Russell. And most of my family's done leather work, online, hospital administration, But you look at how these projects move forward as people who believe in the future of Northern Virginia. People who believe in the future of a small coal town that is, in all honesty, one of the best places I've ever lived in my life. And I've moved around, I've been to a lot of places. You have to have people like Gary Lawson who will work through the processes with you to get these projects moving forward, to get off the ground. People like Mr. Josh here with God Project who really work hard. And these two guys here, I just can't say enough about these two guys. These two guys go off the 8 other apprentices that came out every day during the summer and worked in 140-degree heat to put things together they've never seen before and be led by electricians that have been doing it for years, learn new skills. People like Matt Rose who took the chance to basically educate these folks with the education that he had available to him for safety and the Coalfields stuff. And then people like Chelsea, policy, changing the laws. When they first started looking at this stuff, the law, it was illegal to put solar on schools. It was illegal to save money for schools with solar. And over the past 6 years, that has been changed. And now we are able to do that. We're able to save money. And it's not just in Central Virginia. There's been a huge jump in solar across Virginia, but 90% of that growth has been in Northern Virginia. And so recently it was illegal to do solar in Southwest Virginia. And a lot of policy, a lot of laws have changed a lot.
So spot on. Thanks so much, Matt. Let's thank Matt again. I'm going to invite Chelsea to come up. So that was a great transition point from Matt talking about, that laws actually had to change in order to get projects like this moving forward. Chelsea, could you introduce yourself and talk about what policies were and are needed to change to grow solar jobs in Southwest Virginia?
Thanks so much for that transition, Matt. Yeah, so I think when the Solar Group got started years ago, I don't think anyone realized how significant the policy barriers were to actually putting solar on schools and other, especially local government buildings, but really everywhere in Southwest Virginia. We had very unique and significant policy barriers that we had to work through, and I think really unique to this region. The policies at the state and at the regulatory level that were just really, as Matt said, making it illegal to save money with solar. So the two big policies that we had to work to change over the last few years were net metering, to make sure that schools and localities could actually get credit on their bills for the solar power that they're producing. That's a policy that was available to businesses, but just not available to local governments and the schools. So we had to fight to get those changes. And then also something called power purchase agreements, which is a way that nonprofit entities, such as schools and local governments, can take advantage of the federal tax credits that are available for solar. If you are a local government or a nonprofit, you don't have that tax liability to be able to take advantage of the tax credits that are available at the federal level. So a power purchase agreement is something that makes it so that a third party can take advantage of that tax credit and pass the savings on to you. So both of these things were not available in Southwest Virginia. PPAs were not available to anyone in Southwest Virginia. And we worked over the last few years to get those policies changed. And, I want to give a big shout out to Delegate Kilgore, Senator Edwards, and Delegate Hurst, who spearheaded the bills that we needed to get those changes done over the past few years. And we would get wins at the state legislature and then find that, oh no, there's still something written in a contract somewhere that's standing in the way, or that policy wasn't worded just right. So we had to keep going back. So really, partners like Southern Environmental Law Center and Secure Futures were really key in continuing to just work through those barriers. And we really also appreciate the work of the local government leaders who helped us to advocate for those changes and really explain why they were needed and the opportunity that was available to the schools if we could just get those policy changes. So going forward, there's still more that we can do to create more jobs in Southwest Virginia with solar. We know that utility scale solar is really taking off across the country, and in Virginia in particular, but it's these smaller scale projects, the distributed generation project, the projects in schools and businesses that really create more jobs directly in the community. So those are the policies that we're really fighting for. So things like community solar or shared solar, those are policies that are still not, those are solar types that are not available in Southwest Virginia. So we're going to keep working hard to make sure that shared solar is available here. And also virtual net metering, something that allows a local government to put solar power, for example, on a landfill and then use that power somewhere else in the community that maybe is not directly tied next door to the landfill. So being able to net meter those across different accounts that the locality owns. And then we also just got a really big win at the federal level that expanded the federal tax credits I mentioned that are so key to doing solar. Now there's a bonus tax credit for energy communities and for low-income communities that is such a huge opportunity for this region. That's up to like a 70% tax credit if you line up all the pieces right and find a low-income project in an energy community. An energy community meaning an area like this that has traditionally been powered by, where the economy has been powered by coal jobs or gas jobs. So we're really excited about that opportunity that we got at the federal level. So I think all those pieces together, we're going to continue to see more and more local solar jobs here in the region. So thanks to all our partners who helped us get those big wins.
Yeah, I'd like to invite Mason and Anthony to come both up. So for both of you, if you could each tell us about what are your hopes for future projects? And how will the growth of a locally rooted, meaning that, solar industry that's growing here in the region, impact you directly? So what are your hopes for future projects, and then how will the solar industry affect you directly moving forward? So thanks again for being here. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Anthony Hamilton. My name is Mason Taylor, and I'm an apprentice for God Electric. I first want to start off with thanking Matt for starting up this internship. It's done a whole lot for me and gave me a lot of experience in the electrical field. It truly made me know that I want to be an electrician in the future. I'd like to thank Josh Craybill for giving me the opportunity to be hired on full-time and working while I'm going to school. I'd also like to thank Dean Rose and Bryce Schuler at Mountain Empire for giving us a good education and a good refresher course on how it's going to be and everything like that. I just think that roof and solar system around here is going to be really good for people. We got jobs around here, but there's not that many good paying jobs around here. This is a good opportunity to really give us those good paying jobs. And for future projects, I really just hope there's more of them, because that makes more work for me, and more experience, and just a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
One of the questions that I have, and I'm happy to bring the mic to any of you, one of my mentors uses the phrase, wave your magic wand. If you could really wave your magic wand and look 10 years ahead, what do you want to see for the region in terms of solar jobs community?
Personally, I'd like to see solar on every school, every university, and I would like to see our apprenticeship program implemented at every school and every university. I would like to see generations of jobs in the energy community doing solar as electricians, repairing solar, and being able to go on to be electrical engineers. But more importantly, I'd like to see shared solar, where we can all get it like Netflix and get a discount on our power bill. I would like to see wind move throughout the country. You know, I think there's room for every type of energy that exists to coexist right now. Eventually, we'd like to move away from anything that's limited supply. But, yeah, that's my 10-year goal.
Great, thanks, Matt. Anybody else want to respond to the question?
Well, one of the things that we've talked about a lot during my time at the county school system is our students have always performed at extremely high levels. Our students have historically, at least for the last decade, been among the highest performing students in the state. And the one thing that we have always hoped we could perhaps change a little is that many of them, once they graduate, many attend our local four-year college, UVA-wise, several attend Mountain Empire Community College, but ultimately many of them move away to find employment. And it is my hope that any student who would like to stay here, have a career with the kind of wages that they can raise a family, be happy here, be with their family here, it's my desire that they could do that. And many at this time feel like they can't. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of our students that are able to find jobs here that allow them to raise a family, but there are still a large number that move away to find those opportunities. And I would love for them to have an opportunity to stay right here with us.
Great, so the question is, would this have been something you would have even thought about doing? Would this have been an option you would have pursued if it weren't an opportunity at the Career Technical Centers particularly?
I guess probably solar wouldn't have been an option if this wasn't a thing, but I always wanted to be an electrician.
I believe with the internship that Matt has provided for us, I believe it's really gives us a good opportunity because I never really thought about solar being a thing around here. And going through the vocational school in Lee County, I always sort of knew I fell in love with electrical work, and I didn't really have an option to go find a job around here. So when this opened up, it really gave me a good chance to stay around here and be able to work and just work with people in the community and really build something around here in Southwest Virginia.
Adam mentioned earlier how to get involved. So swvasolar.org is the Solar Workgroup's website, and you can sign up for the newsletter and find out about upcoming events there. So that's how to get involved. And if you want to find out about future gatherings and meetings, that's the place to do it. And I want to thank Emily Carlson of Dialogue and Design. She doesn't like to be thanked publicly, but I just want to thank Emily for all she does at Dialogue and Design. So thank you, and one more shout out thanks to Wise Primaries. Thank you for one more time.
Hello, solution seekers and change makers. We are glad and grateful for the work you are doing in the world. To learn more about the stories and speakers featured in this episode, check out our website at yeswerise.org. You'll find the show notes, interview videos, and the links mentioned today, and you can join our email list. Subscribe to the show to catch every new episode wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. It so helps others find the podcast too. You can also check us out on Facebook or Instagram at Yes We Rise to share your ideas. Enjoy!